The year is 1324. A man leaves Mali in West Africa. He is traveling to Mecca, making the Hajj pilgrimage required of all Muslims. This is a religious journey, a spiritual obligation. But this man is not traveling light. He brings 60,000 people, 80 camels carrying 2 tons of gold each, servants throwing gold dust in the air as he walks, giving gold coins to beggars, paying for everything with pure gold. This man is Mansa Musa, Emperor of Mali, and he is about to accidentally destroy the economies of every region he passes through, not through war, not through conquest, through generosity. He will give away so much gold that the price of gold collapses. Inflation explodes across North Africa and the Middle East, and it will take 12 years for the economies to recover from his charity. This is the story of how the richest man in human history caused an economic crisis by being too generous, how carrying unlimited wealth creates catastrophic inflation, and how Mansa Musa had to borrow gold at outrageous interest rates to fix the disaster he created. But before understanding how gold generosity crashed economies, we need to see why Mansa Musa had more wealth than entire nations. West Africa in the 1300s controls half the world's gold supply. The Mali Empire sits on top of gold mines, rich gold deposits, more gold than Europe has ever seen, and Mansa Musa controls all of it. But West African gold is not sitting in vaults. It is flowing into trade networks, crossing the Sahara Desert, reaching North Africa, entering Mediterranean trade, funding economies from Morocco to Egypt to Arabia. Medieval economies run on gold. Gold coins are the international currency, the store of value, the medium of exchange, and West Africa supplies most of it. Mansa Musa inherits an empire that is essentially a gold production facility with military and administrative structure attached. He does not need to conquer for wealth. He just needs to maintain control of the mines, and he is very good at that. By 1324, Mansa Musa is possibly the richest person who has ever lived. Estimates put his wealth at $400 billion in modern value, more than modern tech billionaires, more than oil sheiks, more than any historical figure with reliable records. But wealth this concentrated creates a problem. What do you do with it? How do you use money when you have more money than everyone else combined? Mansa Musa decides to go on Hajj, to Mecca. This is religiously required, but he is going to do it in a way that announces Mali's wealth to the entire Islamic world. He is going to bring enough gold to make everyone he meets wealthy, and he does not understand what this will do to the economies he passes through. Because Mansa Musa is about to conduct the first documented case of hyperinflation caused by a single individual flooding a region with currency. The caravan that leaves Mali in 1324 is unprecedented in scale. 60,000 people. This is not a pilgrimage, this is a mobile city. Soldiers, officials, servants, entertainers, slaves, scholars, merchants, an entire royal court traveling across the Sahara. 500 slaves, each carrying a 6-pound gold staff, that is 3,000 pounds of gold just in decorative staffs carried by servants. 80 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold, that is 24,000 pounds of gold, 12 tons just in the camel cargo. The total gold brought on the journey is estimated between 18 and 24 tons. This is more gold than most nations possess, and Mansa Musa is carrying it across the desert to give away. The caravan travels slowly, stops in cities, and in every city Mansa Musa distributes gold. He gives gold to beggars, gold to mosques, gold to scholars, gold to officials, gold to anyone who asks. He pays for food with gold, pays for accommodations with gold, tips servants with gold, buys souvenirs with gold. And the amounts are not small. He is giving away handfuls of gold dust, bags of gold coins, solid gold gifts to rulers. In Cairo, he gives so much gold to the Egyptian sultan that it becomes legendary. He builds a mosque in Cairo, pays for it entirely in gold, overpays workers, tips everyone extravagantly. And at first, everyone is thrilled. This is the richest man anyone has ever seen. His generosity is incredible. The gold is flowing freely. Everyone is getting wealthy. But then the market effects begin. Gold is valuable because it is scarce. Medieval economies have limited gold supply. Coins are minted at specific weights. Prices are based on gold's value. Wages are paid in gold amounts calculated for specific purchasing power. The entire economic system is calibrated to a certain amount of gold in circulation, and that amount increases slowly. Mines produce gold gradually, trade distributes it over time, the supply is managed. Then Mansa Musa arrives with 12 tons of gold and starts giving it away like candy. Suddenly, gold is not scarce anymore. Everyone has gold. The beggars have gold, the merchants have gold, the servants have gold. Gold is everywhere. And when everyone has gold, gold is worth less, because value is based on scarcity. If something is abundant, it is cheap. If something is rare, it is expensive. This is basic economics. But Mansa Musa does not understand this. He thinks he is being generous. He thinks he is spreading wealth. He thinks everyone is benefiting from his charity. Instead, he is destroying the monetary system. Prices start rising. A loaf of bread that cost 1 gold coin now costs 3 because the baker has gold. The baker's customers have gold. Everyone has gold. So why sell bread cheap? Merchants raise prices. Landlords raise rents. Everyone with goods or services increases prices because gold is abundant and therefore less valuable. This is inflation. The currency loses purchasing power. Prices rise across the economy, and the people who suffer most are those who had gold before Mansa Musa arrived. If you had saved 100 gold coins before Mansa Musa came, those coins could buy 100 loaves of bread. After Mansa Musa floods the market with gold, those same 100 coins might buy 30 loaves. Your savings lost 70% of their value. This is wealth destruction through currency debasement, and Mansa Musa is doing it accidentally across every region he visits. Cairo's economy collapses into hyperinflation. Mansa Musa stays in Cairo for 3 months. During that time, he gives away enormous amounts of gold. The Egyptian economy has never seen anything like this. Gold prices drop by 25% in Cairo. This means gold lost 1/4 of its value. Any merchant holding gold inventory just lost 1/4 of their wealth. Any worker paid in gold just saw their wages lose 1/4 of their purchasing power. But the price effects ripple outward. If gold is worth less, then everything priced in gold becomes more expensive. Food prices rise, housing prices rise. Import prices rise because foreign merchants know Egyptian gold is devalued and demand more of it for their goods. The Egyptian Sultan receives Mansa Musa with great ceremony, accepts his gifts, then watches his economy destabilize. Trade disrupts because Egyptian merchants are trying to spend devalued gold while foreign merchants are refusing to accept it at old exchange rates. Credit markets freeze because lenders do not know what gold will be worth when loans are repaid. And this is just one city. Mansa Musa is bringing the same problem to every stop on his journey. He travels from Cairo to Mecca, stops in multiple cities, gives away gold everywhere. Each city experiences the same pattern. Prices rise, gold devalues, economies destabilize. By the time Mansa Musa completes his Hajj, he has left an economic crisis trail across North Africa and Arabia, and he still does not understand what he has done. But on the return journey, reality hits him. Mansa Musa runs out of gold. This seems impossible. He brought 12 tons. How does someone run out of gold when they started with that much? But he gave it all away. Every city, every stop, constant gifts, constant spending, constant generosity, and now on the return journey his treasury is depleted. And he discovers a harsh truth. In the cities where he gave away gold, prices are now so high he cannot afford things. A merchant in Cairo wants to sell him supplies, quotes a price. Mansa Musa is shocked. That price is 3 times what it was when he arrived. The merchant explains that gold is worth less now. Everyone has gold, so prices increased. Mansa Musa realizes what he has done. He inflated the currency. He destroyed gold's value, and now he is trapped in an economy where prices are too high because he made gold too common. So he does something unprecedented for the richest man in history: he borrows money. Mansa Musa takes loans from Egyptian merchants at very high interest rates because the merchants know he is desperate, know he needs gold to get home, know he has no leverage. The richest man in human history is borrowing money at terrible rates to afford basic supplies because he accidentally crashed the economy and cannot function in the inflation he created. This is economic irony at its finest. His wealth caused the crisis. The crisis made his wealth insufficient. He has to borrow to solve the problem he created by having too much. But the story gets even more remarkable. Mansa Musa tries to fix the inflation by borrowing back all the gold he gave away. He does not just borrow for supplies, he borrows massive amounts, takes out huge loans, borrows from merchants in every city he passes through. And why? Because he is trying to remove gold from circulation. If he gave away gold and caused inflation, maybe borrowing gold back will reduce the supply and restore value. This is accidentally sophisticated monetary policy. Central banks do this. They control money supply by adding or removing currency from circulation. When there is too much money causing inflation, they remove money through various mechanisms. Mansa Musa is attempting the medieval equivalent: borrow gold, take it out of the economy, reduce the supply, let prices stabilize. And it partially works. His borrowing does absorb some excess gold. The interest rates he pays transfer gold from him to merchants, but that gold goes to fewer people, reducing the diffusion effect. Over time, as Mansa Musa borrows gold back and carries it out of the region, the inflation begins to ease. Prices start stabilizing. Gold's value begins recovering. But the recovery takes years. Historical records indicate that gold markets in Cairo do not return to normal until 12 years after Mansa Musa's visit. 12 years of economic disruption from 3 months of excessive generosity. This is the long tail of inflation. Creating it is fast, fixing it is slow. Mansa Musa distributed gold in months. The economy took more than a decade to absorb and adjust. And the lesson spreads across the medieval world. This African king was so rich he accidentally broke economies just by traveling through them. The story becomes legendary. Mansa Musa's wealth becomes the standard by which all wealth is measured. But there is a darker implication that medieval observers did not fully understand. Mansa Musa proved that wealth alone is destructive if not managed. This is not a lesson about being too generous. This is a lesson about monetary policy and the economics of scarcity. Mansa Musa had good intentions. He wanted to show wealth, wanted to be generous, wanted to help people. But good intentions without understanding consequences cause catastrophes. He helped individuals, gave gold to beggars, funded mosques, paid workers generously. Every individual interaction was positive. But the aggregate effect was negative. The sum of all his generous acts created inflation that harmed more people than his charity helped. The beggar who received gold could briefly buy more food, but then food prices rose, and the beggar was no better off than before. Meanwhile, everyone who had gold before Mansa Musa arrived became poorer. This is the economic problem of flooding markets with currency. It helps recipients temporarily, but it devalues savings permanently. It rewards those who receive new money, it punishes those who hold old money. And Mansa Musa demonstrated this at scale visible across continents. Medieval economies were learning monetary lessons that modern economists still debate. What is the right money supply? How much currency should circulate? What happens when supply increases too fast? Mansa Musa accidentally ran the experiment. And the answer was clear. Too much currency too fast causes inflation. Inflation destroys savings. Savings destruction destabilizes economies. Destabilized economies take years to recover. But here is where the story connects to modern economics in unexpected ways. Every central bank in the world is trying to do what Mansa Musa did, deliberately. Modern monetary policy is about managing currency supply to control inflation. Central banks print money, distribute it through financial systems, try to stimulate economic activity without causing runaway inflation. And they struggle with exactly what Mansa Musa demonstrated. How much is too much? How fast is too fast? When does stimulus become inflation? When does generosity become destruction? The Federal Reserve during COVID-19 printed trillions of dollars, distributed it through stimulus checks, business loans, bank reserves. The goal was preventing economic collapse. The result was inflation. Not as dramatic as Mansa Musa's inflation, modern economies are larger and more complex. The money supply is more sophisticated than medieval gold stocks, but the principle is identical. Increase currency supply rapidly, prices rise, savings lose value, wages cannot keep pace. The economy destabilizes until supply and demand rebalance. The European Central Bank, the Bank of Japan, the People's Bank of China, all managing the same problem: how to add currency without triggering the Mansa Musa effect, how to be generous with liquidity without crashing purchasing power. And all of them struggle because the fundamental economics have not changed in 700 years. Scarcity creates value, abundance destroys value, flood the market with currency and you destroy the currency. The difference between Mansa Musa and modern central banks is intent. Mansa Musa was accidentally conducting monetary policy. Central banks are deliberately conducting it, but the effects are similar when they miscalculate. Weimar Germany's hyperinflation, Zimbabwe's trillion-dollar bills, Venezuela's currency collapse, Argentina's recurring inflation crises. These are modern examples of the Mansa Musa effect, government printing money until money becomes worthless. And just like Mansa Musa's 12-year recovery period, modern hyperinflation takes years or decades to fix, because trust in currency, once destroyed, rebuilds slowly. But there is another lesson that connects to modern wealth. Mansa Musa was rich because he controlled a scarce resource, gold. When he brought gold to regions where gold was scarce, he was wealthy. When he made gold abundant, he destroyed his own wealth's value. This is the paradox of resource-based wealth. The value comes from scarcity, but exercising the wealth destroys the scarcity. Oil-rich nations face this problem. If they flood the market with oil, the price drops. If they restrict supply, they make less money. They are trying to manage scarcity while funding their economies through production. Tech billionaires face versions of this. If Jeff Bezos tried to sell all his Amazon stock, the stock price would collapse. His wealth is theoretical, based on market value, assuming he does not sell. Actually liquidating destroys the value. Cryptocurrency markets demonstrate this constantly. Bitcoin holders face the Mansa Musa problem. If large holders sell, the price crashes. The wealth is real only if it stays theoretical. Exercise it and it disappears. Mansa Musa could be rich because gold was valuable. Gold was valuable because it was scarce. He made gold abundant. Therefore, his gold became less valuable. His wealth was self-negating. This is the fundamental paradox of concentrated wealth in scarce resources. The more you have, the less valuable it becomes if you use it. And Mansa Musa learned this lesson in the most expensive way possible, by accidentally conducting a continental-scale economics experiment that destabilized multiple regions for over a decade. But here is the final twist that makes this story even more remarkable. Mansa Musa's Hajj achieved exactly what he intended, just not how he intended. He wanted to announce Mali's wealth to the Islamic world, make Mali famous, establish Mali as a major power, create relationships with Mediterranean and Middle Eastern rulers. And he succeeded completely. His Hajj became legendary. Everyone learned about Mali, learned about Mali's gold, learned that West Africa was extraordinarily wealthy. European maps started showing Mali, trade routes shifted to include Mali, merchants traveled to Mali seeking gold, scholars went to Mali's universities, Timbuktu became world famous as a center of learning and wealth. Mansa Musa wanted recognition. He got recognition. He became possibly the most famous African ruler in medieval history. His story spread across continents. His wealth became the benchmark for measuring wealth. But he achieved this through economic catastrophe, through accidental inflation, through demonstrating that he had so much wealth he could break economies without trying. This is perhaps the most expensive publicity campaign in history. Mansa Musa spent 12 tons of gold and caused 12 years of economic disruption to make Mali famous. And it worked. But the question remains, was it worth it? Did the prestige gained outweigh the economic damage caused? For Mali, probably yes. The increased trade, diplomatic relationships, and cultural exchange that followed Mansa Musa's Hajj enriched Mali for generations. Mali's golden age is partly attributable to the relationships Mansa Musa established. For the cities he passed through, definitely not. They suffered inflation, economic disruption, and years of recovery for the privilege of hosting the richest man in history. And for economic history, absolutely. Because Mansa Musa accidentally demonstrated principles of monetary economics that would not be formally theorized for another 4 centuries. He showed that currency supply affects prices, that rapid money supply increases cause inflation, that inflation destroys savings, that fixing inflation requires removing currency from circulation, that recovery is slower than crisis. Medieval observers saw this happen in real time, documented it, transmitted the stories, and future economists could analyze the Mansa Musa effect when developing monetary theory. Adam Smith, John Maynard Keynes, Milton Friedman, all of them could have studied what happens when one person floods an economy with currency, because Mansa Musa provided the case study. The richest man in history accidentally became the world's first example of monetary policy failure at scale, and the lesson is still relevant. Modern economists still debate the Mansa Musa question. How much stimulus is too much? When does providing liquidity become creating inflation? When does generosity become destruction? COVID-19 stimulus packages, quantitative easing programs, universal basic income proposals, all of these face the Mansa Musa problem. How do you give people money without making money worthless? And the answer is the same as in 1324. Slowly, carefully, with understanding that flooding markets with currency has consequences. Mansa Musa gave away 12 tons of gold in a few months, caused 12 years of inflation. Modern central banks print trillions over years and still cause inflation. The scale is different, the principle is identical. The lesson is clear. Wealth distribution has economic effects beyond the recipients. Helping individuals can hurt the aggregate economy if not managed carefully. Generosity without understanding creates consequences. Mansa Musa meant well. He was devoutly religious, incredibly generous, wanted to share wealth. And he accidentally proved that good intentions are not enough, that economics has rules, and that violating those rules causes harm even when intentions are pure. The richest man in history crashed multiple economies by being too generous, and it took over a decade to fix what he broke in 3 months. That is the power of wealth, and the responsibility that comes with it, and the lesson that every person, government, and central bank still struggles to learn. Mansa Musa proved that you can have too much of a good thing, that gold is valuable because it is scarce, that making everyone wealthy makes no one wealthy, and that 12 tons of gold is exactly enough to destroy an entire region's economy. The medieval world learned this lesson through disaster. The modern world is still learning it, and history suggests we will keep learning it, one inflation crisis at a time. Until we finally understand what Mansa Musa proved 700 years ago, wealth is relative, scarcity is essential, and flooding markets with currency destroys value no matter how good your intentions.